My name is Kirby. This is KFB. We are Canada's poetry dispensary. We're currently operating entirely online, both at our online shop, knifeforkbook.shop, and online at knifeforkbook.com, which is what allowed you to enter this evening. We're here for the poetry. That's all we do is serve poetry. And tonight we have the debuts of two poets, Tolu Oloruntoba, the JUNTA of Happenstance, and of course, Khashayar Mohammadi, Me, You, Then Snow. So appreciative that you've taken a little bit of time out of your early evening. If you were in Toronto today, we were so blessed with the weather, a summer breeze to bar none. It was just beautiful. It still continues tonight. After we hear some poetry, you'll be able to perhaps go out on your back porch or your balcony and reflect a bit. That would be sweet. Coming up at KFB, I want you to know that we have two books that are really recently new. Amanda Earle's Matthew, which is the Vispo Bible book of Matthew, that Amanda's doing the entire Bible, but we had the luck of having the first gospel. And yes, it is this absolutely exquisitely beautiful. And we'll be doing something a little bit later in the month. I'm going to sit down with Amanda and speak to her more of this work. What's kind of sweet about it, I had a poet wrote to me today. They had just received a copy of this, and he thought that the images reminded them a bit of the beings that were in the movie The Abyss, that kind of reshaped and shape-shifted and reformed. And I forgot how gorgeous that film was. And I have to go revisit Ed Harris because Ed Harris was looking really good back then. So that's Amanda Earle's book, Matthew. And, you know, it's Pride Month. Today's the start of Pride Month. We're not having Pride here in Toronto, but I say bullshit on that because I'm going to be giving a reading on the 29th of June called I'm a Professional Homosexual, which you do not want to miss. And a new book that we have out is Yes, I Am a Corpse Flower by Travis Sharp. This is singularly the most queer book I've ever read in my entire life, and that's saying volumes. Both of these can be found at knifeforkbook.shop, including the work of our debut poets this evening. We are on the land of the traditional territories of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. The city also acknowledges that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, signed with the Mississaugas of the Credit, and the Williams Treaties, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. We are indeed grateful to share and prosper on this land together. It's not every night that we get to hear work from two debuts, and I can't think of a better pairing than what we're going to be listening to this evening. First up will be Tolu Oloruntoba. And Tolu, I'm going to do a little bio here. He's the author of the Anstruther Press chapbook, Manubrium, shortlisted for the 2020 BP Nickel Chapbook Award. His poetry has appeared or is forthcoming in Harvard Divinity Bulletin, Prism International, Columbia Journal, Obsidian, and Canadian Literature, and has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize, while his short fiction has appeared in translation in Dance Pen magazine. He practiced medicine before his current work managing projects for health authorities in British Columbia. After a somewhat itinerant life in Nigeria and the United States, he emigrated to the Greater Vancouver area, where he lives with his family in the territories of the Semenhunu, Katsi, and Kwantlen First Nations. I want to read what Ian Williams had to say about Tolu's debut. Tolu Oloruntoba's The JUNTA of Happenstance left me dazzled to the point of squinting. In every poem, some piece of gorgeous quotable language glittered in my eye. Wake up. It's the crescendo. Here comes your redaction from the world. The collection is neither burdened, victimized, nor apologetic about race. It does not put on race as a pair of glasses. Race is more like an eyeball. It remains a simple fact, even though, as he writes, my mind has bent the facts I know. The facts have bent my mind. One gets the sense that Oloruntoba is the alluring stranger scribbling into a steno, submerged into words on the bus, seemingly absorbed in his world, but really taking note of us. Would you please join me in welcoming Tolu Oloruntoba?
Kirby, thank you so much for your kindness, your generosity. I could listen to you speak all night, have such an electrifying voice. Thank you for sharing this space with me. Kramer, it's a delight to be reading with you tonight. I can see so many of my friends in the audience. Well, Jim especially, who edited this book, thank you so much. I won't be able to, recognize everyone, but thank you for coming out tonight to hear some poetry. I'll be reading back to front from this book. And I'm just going to start with a poem called Sparrows. And just a content warning for some of the poems I'll be reading tonight. Some frank mentions of mental illness, suicidality, and possibly pregnancy loss. So I'm just going to start. First poem is called Sparrows, written for Anthony Bourdain. This neural mesh, the coral brain of SADS, knows when another of us is sunk. Some speak of gray goo, the mitotic mush that will eat the world. It already has, and the circulating suds of our sewers have not washed away the denticulate scum, the flocculent armor, the rafted pleas of the river for blood. Sentence the hanging trees to death, then. It is only right to pulp their flesh and char the inked scroll. It is only right to trace the unraveling of silicon, rappelling up the beach, wicking an infinite apron line. Settle the shelf then, let's. The reef calls our skeletons as symbiote schools nibble them clean. Human bones make for terrific daggers. Cast off the land, our Cretan forest, limestone spares, our stalagmite lunges, our Congress can pierce the belly of a continent. And Kirby, could you please give me a signal if I'm going over? I have no way of knowing what time it is. Thank you. I've tried to time it, but one never knows. The next poem is called My Therapist Assesses Suicidal Ideation. My own stigmata are different. I never return calls. Another way of cutting myself from the mind of the world. I go to my carnivorous plants out back, trigger plants with Velcro pantsuits of death, clutch stomachs, powdery strap air plants, and guiding pilot lights to sticky strips for the unknowing. Pitcher plants and pitcher trap ambushes awaiting the totter, the topple, the drown and digestive drums. Twining bladderworts and purple, delicious spinning skirts, Venus flytraps belching beyond tripwires and the clap of cymbal doors. Water wheel plants, whirls of snap traps sieving, wading the water, washing me down. Sundews, anyone? Anemone home for a warm shower? Here, midges around a touch-screen moon, I can slurp the capsized roof of the pond. My mind has bent the facts I know. The facts have bent my mind. That was a nice intro to the poem since I don't know how Kirby read my mind. I knew I was going to read that poem. The next one is called The Creation of Man. There amidst the dry forest, beg your pardon, let me just start again. The Creation of Man. There amidst the dry faucets of water cycles, the ketones of God's breath pricked my nostrils, stunned as I was after the birth canal, and I became a living soul. From that vapor, nanites industrious had gone to my washing cylinder core and set it to spinning. There's a secret of perpetual motion we've failed to replicate, to pass the torque to progeny and, worn, be swapped out, world without end. Perhaps that's why I don't dwell on those first 7 days or trillion years and ask nothing for myself anymore. And so my gravitational world drew me to metallic feet while my parents lay, serpentine in a sleep they made. Zygote knows something or nothing of violence, but I'm told there had been a miscarried world before this, flushed in a deluge of red. And God said, let's try this again. Next poem is called Pattern Recognition. From the crash of the Paleolithic unconcentric days, it's a circular route on a roving dome of dark. The companion of moments ago would dissolve, become a carousel of arms, a whir of charcoal into black, and I, a coat hanger of pleas, boxing the envelope of blindness. Approaching the other rotor in my space, the thrum of electrostatic greeting startles, the memory of voltage attracts, the friction of sensate digs spurs the canter, collection of charge for later experiments, calibration through chest walls, of hooves bearing a mute, unraveling eureka, harried, hurrying. In the half decade of nighttime necessities, there's a suggestion of warmth, a rumor of contained dawn below, a sputter for us to invent fire. Next poem is called In Cursus. Some of the poems have some religious imagery from my childhood. They just tend to recur. I can't seem to banish them completely. In Cursus. Happening on the fence of Eden, night resolves into griffin guards we had not seen, mat against the confluence beyond, iron shavings of pupils shoved apart by what light there is. Toil, 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 they chant with the night in Angelus, land spots on the mulch. Here's the adaptation of gloom's creatures. Firefly points of a spiked scarab, also a plow, in the chromatography of denial, in the assured prevalence of gravity, and, as happens, always in paradise, the incurse beyond it, the gangrene from tourniquet, the ancient curse, toil, toil, toil rippling concussive from the center. Grant audience or armor from your world, I pray. Job was a better man than I. Don't try to take my child, I beg. I don't know, I've probably been reading for like 7 minutes, I don't know.
Tolu, take your time.
All right.
Read for your pleasure, love. We're all here with you. It's all good.
You can tell I get anxious.
I get it.
All right. Okay.
Ease, babe.
All right. The next one is Manubrium. It's the title poem of my debut chapbook, also edited by Jim Johnstone. Thanks, Jim. Manubrium. I've lost the manubrium, the mandible of a laughing god in bone fields. Geiger counters driven mad by radioaction. Dreadlocks are icy grapnels I grasp in journey to Godhead. My jacket grows heavy with mushrooms on the journey up. I am nothing but a plexus of want, mercurial residues couched in flesh, and potions of drunk daily for strength. I rise unexploded, enriched, isotope full. After the mirage, I charged backwards the long way, Black Panzer over fissile idols of my father, as the earth ticks with radium, a borealis of seconds undoing the night as I work. Grove. In black light, the forest is an eye-white fishbone grave. We are bleached and all pupil in its dark, and the curtains of the world do not hush the dial tone traffic. In black light, I asked for a diviner, and one asked why I was sad. I was when I looked. You're molten, said another, and I did when I looked. Next one is called She Says. She says, don't forget to breathe. I grunt through the bull run of my inner ribs, my lungs a muslin sheath of drum. Stagger off the panic bus, pulled over, my night a drunk tank. Here before my pill, the fleet of plungers and my brain ready to sail. Do we need a prayer or the like for this launch? I've read the warnings. This sertraline can reach and slash your wrists, but my dark foil is only a suicide note if it succeeds. Stop when you find yourself baying at the moon. The elixir demands scrapings from a sundial's millennial face, from the skid marks of its hours. Autonomy texts show my skull sliced open after for ventilation. The brain has no nerves of its own, so I feel none of the disrobe dance, the clothes crackling with light. They wear only boots of dry ice and pneumatic drills. Their mother is the wedding of depth gauges, diviner, a wrecking ball of lie detector eyes and jawbones. I want her to reveal the secret of blood, how saplings question mark the morning above ground. She says, a finger in the eye should do it. The doc explains the hole in my brain with a purgatory of plastic poppies, a glum, a vortex of exit wounds falling out, planets of fruit wax and their storm drains, a dreamliner of swordsmen falls out, cesium blind drone boys and their elephant foot fall out, housing bubbles, unexpected contraceptive, the cower and triumph of the inadvertent falconer fall out, train cars and white cane folds fall out, mother riding a Shel Silverstein allegory falls out, the monomania of ferry conductors, their anchors of nose rings, their barnacle hooks fall out, gray matter in peristaltic ropes, a bucket of neurotransmitters, an expanding slick of blood falls out. If the mask of the maw be grotesque, how much more what is beneath? What if the accordion of breath be broken? What of the resonance of bridge boots breaking the boombox first? I don't know, but it seems a bit much, doesn't it? Knowing if or that I've died. Will you help me look? And that's the last poem. Thank you very much for listening. Kirby, thank you again.
Thank you, Tolu. What a pleasure. The book is The JUNTA of Happenstance. It's put out by Palimpsest Press and Anstruther Books. And thank you for gracing us with this reading tonight. Much appreciated. I remember days of surprise, and it was always a delightful surprise when we were at the Dark Side Studio in Kensington, in that beautiful dance studio where everybody had to take off their shoes to enter and grace the space. And I was at the end. I couldn't always see initially who came up, but there was a mirrored wall so I could see along the mirror who had entered. And it was always a really fine afternoon when all of a sudden Kramer would bustle through the door and drop his bag and kick off his shoes and give me information about what new things they were reading and looking for what new things were happening at the shop. And it's a relationship that I have treasured for years now, and I am so grateful for that. Also that we were able to publish a wonderful chapbook called Dear Kestrel that is still makes me beam. Um, Khashayar's new book, their debut, Me, You, Then Snow, out from Gordon Hill Press. Let me do an intro for you, Khashayar, on top of what I've already said. Khashayar Mohammadi is a queer Iranian-born poet-based, Toronto-based poet, writer, and translator. He is the author of the poetry chapbooks Mo's Skin, Dear Kestrel, Solitude is an Acrobatic Act, and The Ocean Dweller. His debut collection is with Gordon Hill Press. Would you please join me in embracing and welcoming Khashayar Mohammadi?
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? I have like 3 mute buttons separately, so I hope everyone can hear me. So
Okay.
let me turn on this light. And so there's a lot of grief going on around here. So I'm gonna start. I just want everyone to for a moment like close their eyes, and I'm gonna read a ghazal. And I find like when I'm at my most emotional, when I'm at my lowest, reading some ghazals will always just uplift me so much. So it's a ghazal I've translated. It's one of my favorite of all time. And I'm going to read this and I'm just going to, you know, make us get rid of some of our sadness, maybe. So close your eyes and I'm going to read this ghazal. Khaju Kermani, Ghazal 921. I don't know if I mentioned, I translated it. Word came, where are you from? You who seem so distressed. I said, I'm from the realm of familiarity yet dispossessed. Word came, what is it you seek, since you seem lost in your aim? I said, I've come to sit in your court, begging and depressed. Word came, what bird are you, singing of rank and place? I said, an eloquent one, from the realm of the distressed. Word came, should you get drunk on life, you shall clearly transcend. I said, from worshiping this drink, I've grown now self-possessed. Word came, you're not worth a single grain if it is austerity you seek. I said, I repent as an ascetic. Austerity I know not best. Word came, how do you find me in lieu of attraction? I said, like a field of flowers on the hill of love expressed. Word came, I am that bergamot that does not fit into this world. I said, you're better than bergamot since you cannot be possessed. Word came, why are you airborne in love, afloat as a particle? I said, since I've lost my head, flown upward to the celeste. Word came, tell me, Khaju, what do you see in my eyes? I said, the tale of drunkenness is a divine secret, I attest. I'd rather talk less and read more. Pornhub gay for Kirby. The bodies I attract, the bodies I'm attracted to, curves and sinews, muscle symmetry, epidermal glimmer. No body without warmth. No touch void of electricity. The most oppressed bodies are the most pornographically desired. The most oppressed bodies are the most pornographically endowed. The most suppressed desires of the most oppressed bodies. Desire, infinitely flexible, bending sex words, and the oppressed are the most lusciously bodied. Aggressively membered and disembodied and remembered in taglines. An old limp dick, hooded with smegma, liver spotted, sour stench, the kind that hits you like a fine wine, unfolds half-mast while cultures fuck each other into self-consuming wormholes. Odorless poem for Bardia Sinai. Boo is smell, but boo is also in Budan, which is to be. Like the phrase bito Budan, to be without you. But the Persian bi means without. Bito without you. The boo in Bhutan akin to English be, to be. But the Persian to means inside or in, and the Persian in means this. To be is illegible, but B2 means no insides or empty. To be B2, to be empty, endless. To be boo, to be odorless. To be two beings, to be into be two beings. People hollowed out into right here. Be to be you without you. Longing to be longing where loss is a flirt and law is between man and ma, but longing to no longing to be into beings right here without you, you flirt, you husky man, where man is me. Beto as in man, without you as in me, as in the crux of this translation. Beto man as in a toeless man fled off of this sentence. I as a noise I make without you instead of ouch. Notice the CH in both ouch and ache, like a German ich, but in no way related. We can all proclaim ourselves in pain. I am man, an existent me, aching. As man be to, from me to you. Man to to, me in you. To be man, you be me, you without me. Now share this poem. Share a man is my poem that I wrote for me, for myself, for a man as you. I am flipped to ma. This is us now. Man to ma. Me, you, and our teeth fading into the void between. Teeth locked into a jaw, which is a place of its own. In jaw, this place. Be jaw, without place, without exiled. Man o toe and jaw, me and you here. Me and you connected by an O. Add another O and it becomes oo, third person genderless. Man o toe, me and you. Man o toe o oo. Me and you and a third person, genderless. Also, Susan, that ghazal was by Khaju Kermani. It's actually coming out soon. The translation is coming out soon. It doesn't exist in any other. Anyway, the translation doesn't exist other than my translation. I'd like to think I reached the height of my writing career when I came up with the name of this poem, and it's called Nipples al dente. Scars seem to say, the end's a dreadful thought. In the cross-legged hours to come, be more masculine. Bite marks embolden heavy as lips. Bus ride boredom taught us how to forget the word longing, how to say I and really mean it this time, how to bite anti-Oedipal, complex-free. We paved a new path to the mind, found a maternal love protruding. My skin came alive. A fingertip could stretch me tender, etch a lover's mark on hips. Chest risen, exercise, the warmth permeates. We're longing free. I have a lot of film poems. This is my favorite film poem based on my favorite film, one of my favorite films. It's called Tarkovsky's Mirror for Claudia Edwards. Come throes of a cock, death throes of a bird, trapped in a fist. And the skin that sheathes our soul opaque. A dried leaf in the pages of history. Blighted, once green. I just realized without even meaning to, I'm reading all my queerest poems. Well, it's Pride Month. Cyber City. Whiskey in wine glasses, cutting the sting of our cheap cigarettes, philosophizing with arms suspended above a heap of cigarette butts. Our late teen minds scrambling for meaning in the purple neon lighting last night's slashed paintings. thirsty for each other's lips, tasting the whiskey on another's tongue-tipped teeth, gnashing into flesh we gave and withdrew, we gave and withdrew. Absent minds, absent eyes on our naked bodies, men bared their canines behind our eyelids with every thrust. But it was never about the sex. It was about the cigarette we'd share after, the neon corona of a cyber city, dragging us into orbit. Humid days when we'd stare down at striped walkways so long the first gaze skyward tunneled our vision into an ever-receding sinkhole. We expected to be different after. Walk erect as sacrament. Buttocks sliding to reveal where the flame licks clean. Chest hair. Chest hair. It's all good for now. And I saw Travis Sharp in the room, and I decided to add this poem, which I wrote after reading their book. It's called Point-Based Queers. This is not in the book. This is just, I'm low on queer points, masking, passing, too masculine from years of all-boys school male bonding. Now they make fun of queers when they pass you by. Didn't Kay suck off AJ in the bathroom? I remember their file clearly stating subject and object, fa'il va maf'ul. Even bureaucrats annotate who's atop. 2. If you like the smell of prayer halls, you're queer now. Rose water on your knees, remembering the ritual removal of socks and glistening forearms, foreheads a glimmer. 3. When I eat with dad, I eat too much, stuff my mouth, stuff my nose so no air can escape. And listen to Redacted say how queers deserve to die. And me deflecting. 4. This part has some triggering imagery of queer hatred. 4. I'm low on queer points, I tell B, but I've witnessed queers hanged in public squares, industrial cranes, hooded bodies. How many points did that earn a queer? How many points for Redacted, who doesn't even listen? Sadly non-expendable, sadly essential to my being, sadly the only one whose bitter indifference cements on his face as glaciers race past the window, tectonic plates form new continents, and still no emotion, none yet. B calls it violent ambivalence. 5. Angels of artifice tell me I'm peopled with many others, Muslim queers who pray as talismans to manifest nostalgia for the non-existent. Mother emotions too early and orphaned at the hands of geography. I'm low on queer points, I say, erecting walls, spending years carving a crevice to build a door, only to build a lock heavy enough to keep intruders behind. And I'm going to end with a Dear Kestrel poem. It's Dear Kestrel. It's the subtle things about Montreal. How loudly people gasp if you dare to cross on red. Yet here I am, sitting windowside, watching Hasidic Jews glide past in uniform. I sit in silence, daydreaming in broken French. Dear Kestrel. Will I be tragic? Will I embody enough paradoxes to be beautiful? I smell death, Kaz. Mothballs chase me wherever I go. The bed bug smears on the wall, Kaz, they remind me of you. I stare at the clock, realize how little time has passed. Dear Kestrel, last night I saw a little girl dragging a toy truck tethered to her wrist. Was that a poem, Kaz? Is this? Dear Kestrel, next time don't hesitate, just write. Dear Kestrel, here's a flower. Thank you.
Thank you, Kramer. These are two debuts that I cannot recommend highly enough. Khashayar Mohammadi, Me, You, Then Snow. Tolu Oloruntoba, The JUNTA of Happenstance. You can find them right now at knifeforkbook.shop. Tolu, Kramer, you remind me of what keeps me here. I'm very grateful. Dear poets that have come this evening to support and hear poets, you are what keep us here. No, I am grateful from the bottom of my heart. I hope we will see each other live soon. I will. I did get my second vax this past week. I'm praying for the time that we can hold each other's faces dear. Meanwhile, be well, be kind to yourselves, and keep writing. My love to you all. Be well. Have a good night.